Hey guys, welcome back. A few weeks ago we made dungeon tiles, which are super useful, but it's not quite enough. So today we're gonna make modular dungeon walls and pillars so you can recreate all kinds of dungeon scenarios for encounters or dungeon crawls and be able to switch them around at will so you can kind of do it on the fly without having to have this huge sprawling setup. I'm really stoked about this. I got to use them in a really applicable situation last night as I finished painting them about 20 minutes before our D&D session that I'm running with my buddies. Our adventurers were tasked with ridding some orcs from a set of ruins, and when they arrived there, they realized that they were far outnumbered. It was about 13 orcs, 3 ogres against the 3 of our adventurers, and it was in a set of ruins, so that I got to build the outlines of a lot of crumbling ruins and place everybody where they were going to and just live stream that over the Discord channel so everybody could see what was happening. I got a lot of good feedback when my players said it was super helpful to have the visual aids so they could plan out their attacks and their actions, and it was a blast. So we're gonna make those today, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So as per the usual, we're gonna grab our XPS foam board and get it ready. I'm using these minis to determine the height of the walls, but I'm actually gonna just use the taller guy with the spear because I do have some taller minis and I wanna be able to have walls that are higher, maybe make these in a modular fashion so I can make more than one floor or hide monsters within the dungeons for like a fog of war so the players don't know they're there. And then I'm going to take the one wall that I cut and use that as a pattern to determine the height and the size of the other walls. Because they're modular, we need to make a whole pile of them, and we want them in all kinds of different sizes so we can make different hallways, rooms, and different shapes. So we're going to make as many as we can. I almost actually wish I had made more, but you can always make more later. And like I said, I wanted to make pillars, so we're going to cut a couple pillars to get those in there too. Remember to be careful when you're doing this. The knife is sharp, and just be patient, and it is a little time consuming, but that's just the way it goes. Once we got all of our walls cut, we're gonna take the knife and cut in the rough outline for our brick shapes for the stones in the wall. I'm gonna do 5 horizontal lines because I think the proportions work out really well for this. You don't have to cut very thick because you don't want to cut the foam off, just enough to break through the surface. And then we're gonna flip it, and on the vertical we're gonna do an alternating vertical line pattern to mimic how bricks are laid in real life. And I think this worked really well, and like I said, don't cut too deep, but just make sure you're cutting through that surface of the foam. And once we're done with that, we're gonna drag through with our favorite tool, the toothpick, and get rid of all that foam that's kind of ripped up and pilled from the knife. And when you're kind of getting that foam out, some of it's gonna rip off and it's gonna look kind of jagged, but I think that actually makes it look really good for dungeon tiles and bricks and ruins because it gives it a really nice aged aesthetic. So to finish off the look, because we're gonna be using these in all kinds of different ways, we're going to carry the lines from the brick across the top and the sides and drag a straight line across so you know that there's 2 layers of bricks. And the same thing, you're going to just drag your toothpick right through there to open that up and get the loose foam out. Remember, we're doing this so that even if they're open from the sides or the top, it looks good from all the sides. And we're going to do the same thing on the pillars. We're going to just make that same brick pattern. The only difference between the walls and the pillars actually is that with the pillars we're going to take the knife and we're going to carve off part of the corners, and you'll see in a second that I do this to make them look a little bit more ruiny and aged, and I like the aesthetic here. They're not making them round, but we're just shaving off the sharp corners to give them a little bit more of that look. And this is what they look like when they're done and we're ready to paint. So what I'm gonna do this time, which I didn't do last time with the dungeon tiles, is use like a very mildly watered down black paint and kind of fill in the cracks first before we put the gray paint on to make sure that we get everything in there, because I did have a little bit of trouble with the dungeon tiles getting all the wash in to fill it, and this way we're just making sure we're gonna get the darkness and the shadows in there. If I did have to do something different, which I'm gonna probably try next time I make these, is I would actually put a little bit more black paint on the outside surfaces instead of just focusing on the cracks. You wanna get as much of the paint in as you can, and if you're having a hard time getting it in, water it down a little bit more. It's really not a big deal because we are gonna paint a couple layers on top of this, but you'll see when we do the gray paint why you might want a little bit more black underneath, but the variance of the black everywhere, like you can see here, does give it kind of a cool coloring for gray, but you can see some of the black, the blue spots that haven't been covered. So when we're making our gray paint, we're gonna just glob a whole pile of white, a bit of black, and I used a bit of this weird light green to kind of give the color a little bit more depth. and I think that turned out well. And because we're going to do the really heavy dark black wash afterwards, we want a light gray to go on here. And this isn't quite a dry brush, but kind of the similar thing to a dry brush. Get a little bit of paint, but not too much, and just kind of get it on the top surfaces. You don't want too much paint or it'll glob up and fill in all the cracks. Inevitably that is going to happen a little bit, but by using a little bit less paint and going over it a few more times, we can avoid that as much as possible. And you'll see when you're doing this why I say maybe put a little bit more black on, because if you have more black and you use less gray for the dry brushing, you won't be seeing any of that blue poke through. This is what the final paint product looks like. Looks really good, but we're gonna get to the wash. Our favorite part, pop the details, because it's all these natural details. And just glob that up pretty thick, but you don't want to leave any puddles or pools. You know, brush it off and the details are in the pot. And even if there is a little bit of paint in the cracks, this will kind of tint it and color it and give you back to that shadowy, detailed look. We're gonna do the tops, the sides, and both faces. Don't mind so much on the bottom, just like everything, and we're gonna do the pillars too. And you can let this dry, and if you're not too happy with it, you can always do a second layer. That's not really a big deal. And now that they're all done, we're gonna let them dry. We're gonna see what they look like in a second, but first, we're gonna add my favorite part that I wanted to try. I'm unsure about the final product of this, but we're gonna take a toothpick and stick the sharp end in and then pull it back out to create a hole in the foam, then break it in half and stick them in. And this is so on our dungeon tiles you can place them and stick them in so they'll stay sturdy and they won't move around or fall over while you're, you know, dungeon crawling and stuff. Same with the pillars, we're gonna only put one in there, but they're really long walls. 2 is enough, I think. What I meant by not sure what to do with the finish is with the glue. I was thinking about gluing them in, but I'm gonna use them a bit before I decide if I'm gonna glue them in or not, because like you can see here, I'd like to be able to pull those out. But anyways, this is the final product. I hope you guys found that interesting, fun, exciting, helpful, whatever it is. If you do make these and you're using them in your games, send me pictures, leave me comments, hit the like button. I want to see it. I want to know what you guys think. If there are any tips or tricks you have where we can make these better or more useful or better looking, let me know in the comment section, and hit that subscribe button. I'm putting out 2 videos a week right now. Hopefully I can keep that going as I'm gonna be getting busier and busier. But we got lots of more videos on models and minis. We got videos on all kinds of other fun stuff you can do at home and other fun projects. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.